He, I think, wanted an opportunity to see the world, some adventure. I don't think he really knew what he was getting into
That was
until, of course, he
typical.
was in the trenches.
Isn't that true? That was such a common experience, the adventure, big world, and then the reality of the horrors of that war. But he was known as one of the best in the British Army. That's how he was described, as a sniper.
Yes, he was touted to be the best sniper in the British Army at the time. His skills were honed from how he termed swatching seals. Momentary, when the seal raised its head through the water, you had no other choice but be on point. Ammunition was very scarce, so that honed his skills and prepared him well for his role as a sniper.
That would be an uncommon training, wouldn't it, for most of those in the war?
Exactly.
He had many successful days and missions and battles, but eventually fell in 1917 in the Battle of Cambrai. What were the circumstances of that, Daniel?
From what I understand, he was second wave of the cleanup after the Battle of Cambrai. They were crossing a bridge near the sugar factory, near the town of Marsnier. So the story goes, a German shell exploded, an errant German shell exploded, and him and six of his comrades fell. That's where they laid that day, and his remains, until a few years ago, were unknown to us where his final resting place were, until some work was done by local historian here, Frank Gogos, and cartographer David Mercy at Memorial University, who took the coordinates from the battle that day and were able to pinpoint exactly where they fell. So he's now under 6 meters of rubble. There's no way we'll ever.
Really? But he went from being one of those 800 names we see on the wall of those who were unknown. At least you know where he is. Now, it's not a very satisfactory final resting place, I'm sure, but to know that, is that important to you and the family?
No, that's very, very powerful to know that so many others do not have the same honor that we have now, to know where his final remains are and where his resting place is. It's so
You
significant.
can go there and you could
I
pay
can go
respects.
there. I hope to get there one day, and I will.
So is the emotion from thinking about him or just knowing that you know where he is?
I've always held my Uncle John and other Indigenous veterans in very high regard. I think they were the unsung heroes of the war, the great wars, peacekeeping efforts. They were Indigenous. They were recognized as citizens of our country. They never received the same benefits when they came home. They were shunned, and they were left to their own devices. They were a part of liberating. That my Uncle John is revered in France for his role of coming to liberate France and the rest of Europe during World War I wish that he was held in that same regard here in this country, and that's what I'm working
I
towards.
was going to say, you're not just,
Eventually
those aren't just
have.
words, you're actually making this advocacy and you're hoping to have more attention paid to the service and sacrifice of Indigenous veterans. What would you like to see? I know you have a plan for what is up near that National War Memorial. You'd like to have something for the Indigenous veterans too, wouldn't you?
Yes, I would like to see, given that the province of Newfoundland and Labrador has expropriated the land adjacent to the War Memorial with a plan to expand that, I think it's time for the province and Canada to work together with another Indigenous organization to ensure that Indigenous veterans are honored, recognized, commemorated, and they take their rightful place in the history of this province and in this country. Therefore, I would like to see some sort of monument or a memorial, hopefully in the likeness of my Uncle John Shiwalk, to represent all Indigenous veterans. He's renowned, he's one of the most well-known, and I just read this morning, given his military record, he was one of the most significant soldiers in the Royal Newfoundland Regiment. That speaks miles.
It really
He should
does.
be commemorated.
I'm so grateful